Hello, everyone. I'm Claudio Reilsono, and I just had the great opportunity to speak with the real Jason Duncan on the root of all success. I was really looking forward to doing this show, and it was even more fun and exciting than I thought it would be. It was great. I knew it was going to be good, but Jason has some great questions. But what I do advise you all to do is go to Jason's written content and his YouTube channel, his website, everything to watch his show because it'll definitely have impact on you. Jason shares stories of his life and career, and he interviews wonderful guests, and it'll definitely have impact on your life, business, and professionally. So, and hopefully you enjoy my interview with Jason. I know I did.
Welcome to the root of all success with the real Jason Duncan, a podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs unlocked success and how their stories can help you do the same. A successful educator turned entrepreneur, Jason has built multi-million-dollar businesses that have been featured in Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur magazine. His life's mission now is helping entrepreneurs live what he calls #the exit lifestyle. Introducing TEDx speaker, mastermind leader, author, entrepreneur, cigar aficionado, motorcycle enthusiast, and host of The Root of All Success, the real Jason Duncan. The real Jason Duncan.
Welcome back to the show. I am the real Jason Duncan. I'm glad you're here. I've got a legend, a baseball legend today on the show. You know, we mostly talk with entrepreneurs and business owners, and he is an entrepreneur and business owner. We'll talk about that. But it is really his claim to fame is in baseball. And I've got the one and only Claudio Reilsono on the show today. He's a professional baseball scout for the Global Scouting Bureau. He's head coach at Carnegie Mellon University. He began his career at 18 years old as an assistant coach at Quaker Valley, where he went to school. And he later became the head coach at Penn State Beaver in 1990. He served as a hitting instructor. It's easy for me to say. He's hosted and produced his own shows like the Boxing Authorities and the Claudio Reilsono Show, which you'll be hearing yours truly on one of his episodes in the not too distant future. In 2023, he co-hosted Italian Impact Weekly and Talking Business and Life with Claudio Reilsono and Steve Mancini. He's also been voted in 2 different halls of fame, if I've got that correct. It's the Steel City Sports Hall of Fame in 2014 and the Carnegie Mellon University Baseball Hall of Fame in 2011. And he was awarded the Willie Stargell MVP Lifetime Achievement Award. He's involved in all kinds of sports stuff. You can find him on ClaudioReilsono.com. And I know you don't know how to spell his name if you're listening to this because it's not an easy name to spell, but we're going to give you the spelling of that name before the end of the show. But if you want to know how to do that, make sure that you stay all the way to the end. Claudio, welcome to the show, my man.
Jason, thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you for having me on. I've been very much looking forward to this. Thank you.
Well, it's not often that I have people who are strictly from the sports world come on and be a part of the show, but you do have, you've written for publications and you've co-owned things like Paramount Fighting, American Boxing Federation, the Lalonde Boxing Management. You started your own company, the Claudio Reilsono Enterprises. So you do have your business chops, but really it's baseball, right? I mean, that's your thing. That's your go-to. That's what you know. That's what you play. That's what you do, right?
August 19th, 1973, I was 8 years old. I went to my first Pittsburgh Pirate game at Three River Stadium. And I knew what I wanted to do that day. My parents were from Italy. They like boxing and soccer. And I went to that game. My uncle worked at Three River Stadium, and it just hit me, that building, the scent of the building, and going down to the locker rooms and talking to the players. I didn't even know who they were. Then I snuck up on the field by myself at around 10:28 in the morning, and there was 58,000 seats empty. The only people that were on the baseball field were the grounds crew and myself. And something was going on with me. I loved where I was, right? And then I came home, and like you moving into your grandparents' home, I live in the same house I grew up in. This is it. Same house. I never left, 59 years. But I came into
Wow.
this door, and my dad, never forget, he said, "Did you have a good time?" I said, "I did. I'm 8 years old now. I did. But I know what I want to do with the rest of my life." He says, "What's that?" I said, "I want to be in professional baseball." And I'm looking at the spot where my dad said that. And my mom came over and they both said the same thing. If that's what you want to do, we will do everything we can to give you every opportunity in the world to make your dreams come true. And Jason, I always start every interview with I thank God for the parents that I had. There's an old Italian saying, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, you know he didn't get there alone. And whatever, those accolades that you mentioned or whatever I've done, if it wasn't starting with my parents, never would have the shot. So, but that's how baseball started for me.
Hats off to mom and dad. And what's interesting
For
about that
sure.
story is that, you had parents who took you to the game, who took you and exposed you to that. And I think sometimes in our journey to success, we reach some levels of success, whether it's business or life or money or whatever it happens to be. I don't think we often take enough time like you just did and think back to who exposed me to this thing that allowed me to become successful. And so I think it's really cool that
Yeah.
you recognize that in your parents.
Thank you. Yeah, I had I can't say one negative thing about my parents. I really can't. Both personally and what they did for me professionally, what they taught me. I wouldn't have the life I have, and I try to honor my parents. After every show that I do, I thank them. We named our daughter after my mom, Ida. We I have baseball classics events named after them. So I that's the least I can do for them.
Yeah. Well, and I think too that your reverence and respect for your parents, I think probably has played into your respect that your children have for you too, because your daughter was on helping you with some tech support right before we came on.
Yeah,
And so
I've
how many kids do you
uh,
have?
just the one, just her. And you know what? My wife Linda and we've been together for 25 years. I've known her since '87. My daughter's 22. She just graduated from Pitt. Now she's going to grad school at Duquesne. She's a color guard head coach at a local high school here, Montour High School. She's a dance teacher. She works at the mall. I tell you the truth, Jason. I have been so blessed to have the parents I had and still have, my wife, Linda, my daughter. I even had a great dog and cat. I've overachieved in life. I'm grateful every day for those people. I really am. And my daughter, like I said, I want to give her the life that my parents gave me and give her the opportunity to go after her goals and dreams like my parents gave me. And it's our honor and thrill to do that for her.
Yeah, so I think to the listeners, I want to speak directly to listeners. Think back to your life and your journey. Maybe it wasn't your parents, maybe it was, whatever it was, but who was it that helped you in your journey to get where you are? Do you have you taken that moment to go back and thank them? And if it was mom and dad, go back and thank mom and dad. If it was your wife or your husband, go back and thank them. If it was your kids or your parents, like whoever it was, go thank them, because I think that gratitude, daily gratitude, really thinking about what you're grateful for can help you become even more successful. So speaking of success, Claudio, you've had a tremendous amount of success in the baseball arena, 2 sports halls of fame, other awards, lifetime achievement awards. That is pretty significant. What do you attribute your success in these areas of sports?
Well, I gave a speech a couple weeks ago, and I was asked to kind of put into a box, how I was able to get from point A to point B. And I've used this before, but I was able to put it in a kind of a smaller box. And I used the word top, T-O-P. I had to be tough. I had to overcome. I had to be persistent. I had to be tough in the sense of I had numerous, hundreds of rejections. The goal was to be in professional baseball, not college baseball only. I have my cake and eat it too by doing both, but I had to be tough in overcoming. I had to be tough with dealing with all those rejections. I had to be tough in the sense of, as wonderful as my parents were, and my wife and my daughter, I also had some people in my life that weren't so wonderful, that wanted to see me fail, or some people that I worked with making the journey that much harder than it already was. I had to overcome. I had to overcome the passing of my mom at age 48, 36 years ago, which was devastating to me, absolutely devastating. I had to
Mm.
overcome my dad's health issues, which were hard. And I had to overcome, again, people where they were in life, and I was nowhere near where I wanted to be. I had to overcome those feelings and those thoughts. Am I ever going to get to where I want to be? And I had to be persistent. So again, top, persistent in, okay, I was rejected. That's okay. You fall down 6 times, you get up seven. You get punched, you punch back. And it was hard. People think, oh, it's fun and games. You're chasing your dream. Nah, it's not fun and games. But I had to be tough. I had to overcome, and I had to be persistent and just keep knocking on doors until Gale Sayers, the Hall of Fame running back for the Chicago Bears, he had a great line. He said, all I need is 18 inches and I'll run the daylight. That's the way I looked at it. All I needed was that one person to give me an opportunity and I'd run the daylight. And that one person was James Gamble of the Global Scouting Bureau in January of 2001 when he gave me the opportunity to be a professional baseball scout. Dream come true. And then, okay, I have more to do. But so that's what I had to do. I had to be tough. I had to overcome, and I had to be persistent.
What is the hardest thing that you've had to overcome in your life so far?
Oh, without question, my mom passing. Um, I It came out of the blue, May 18th, 1988. My dad had a landscaping business, which I now own. We were working, and somebody took my mom to the doctors, and they said, just like that, she has 6 months left to live. What? What are you talking about? She had an ulcer, right? She had 6 months, and when she passed, um, I remember going to the casket, and I kissed my mom. It was the first time she never kissed me back. And my dad comes over. My dad was about 5'5", Jason, but he had these thick hands. Put his hands on my hand at the casket. He said, Claude, I know what you're thinking. You want to quit baseball. Because at that time, Jason, I could care less. I was going to quit baseball, get a job, and be done with it. I had nothing left in me. And excuse me. And he said, you can't quit because you're the only thing to keep her name alive and to keep her dream alive. So you have to keep at it. She didn't quit. You can't quit. And Jason, I'm telling you, when he said that, audibly, I heard the Rocky theme, right? I just did. And I grabbed my mom's hand. I said, Ma, you didn't quit. And I promise you that no matter what, I'm going to jump over walls, go through them, go underneath them, go on the side. But we're going to get those 3 letters next to my name, pro. And but that was still to this day. I mean, I get emotional talking about my mom and my dad because they were unbelievable with me. And but that was the hardest thing to overcome.
Well,
And my
the
dad,
loss.
I'm sorry, 20 years ago yesterday, or the 19th, February 19th, him passing was hell. And I was a grown man. I was 23 when my mom passed, 39 when my dad passed. But we did everything together. I didn't have enough time to do more with my mom. We did everything together. But my dad, we were always together. And so it was tough. It was tough.
Well, that's a special relationship, and anytime you lose somebody you love, it's difficult. I am blessed to still have both of my parents. My father-in-law passed away years ago, so my wife has lost her dad, but her mom is still with us. But I don't know what that's like, so my heart goes out to you, and I can't
Okay.
imagine the emotional, especially as close as you were. But being able to push through and not quit, because quitting in times of adversity is failure. Adversity, should make us stronger. And I know as a hitting coach, you got to know, like, is that's why when you swing in a baseball bat to practice, you put weights on it because you want to make it heavy. You want to make it hard to swing so
That's
that when you take the weight off, it's easy to swing now. The bat didn't get any lighter. You just got stronger. And I think that's what
right.
adversity does. What do you think about that?
That's a great line. I love that. I'm going to steal that if that's okay. And one of the crazy things is, I kids don't use those weighted bats anymore. I had 3 on my bat, and I used to make the handle thicker so when I use my bat, it seemed lighter. But that's a great analogy. And I like to make my practice. Rocky Marciano, the former heavyweight champ of the world, he used to make training harder than the actual boxing match. He was one of the first ones to work underwater. He would hit a 500-pound heavy bag. This way, when he hit a human, it was like nothing. So you hit it right on the head. And yeah, you try to make practice harder so the games are easier. And you'll hear athletes say that all the time. I don't miss the practices, I miss the games. But life can be tough, and um, hey, I'm 59. I'm still a work in progress. I'm still trying to, some things I can handle excellent. Um, But you know what? Even looking back on my mom's illness and my dad's illness, you look back and you say to yourself, how did I deal with all that? But something kicks in, if it's your faith or whatever it is, something kicks in that helps you deal with any adversity. Because that's one thing we all have in common. We're all going to have obstacles / adversity to overcome. And it's easy for me to say, oh, what happens to you? It's not what happens to you, it's how you deal with it. But that's kind of what it is. And it's hard. But, John Wayne said courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway. So you saddle up.
Yeah, that's good. Now let's talk baseball for a minute. So, what when you started playing baseball as a young kid, what position did you play?
I was when the dream came to me August 19th, 1973, I had no idea if I had any ability in it or not. I just knew I enjoyed the atmosphere I was at. But I was very blessed that I could play all the positions. As a matter of fact, as a senior in high school in 1982, my coach, Coach Woznicki, he put me, I one game I pitched, played left. I pitched, played left, short, third, and right field, 5 or 6 positions, maybe second base. So I could play all the positions. Catcher was the one I didn't want to play because that was the tough, and my knees are bad enough as it is. But I was able to play
Yeah,
all the positions, and I was a very good hitter. I was blessed with a good arm. So, I could play all the positions and play them well.
that's not normal. Most people can't
No,
pull that off.
no, but again, I think you have to be, you have to be blessed with X amount of ability, and then you have to work at it. And I did it every single day. I'd go in my backyard, and okay, Claudio now is a pitcher. Claudio's now an outfielder. He's an infielder. And my dad, as I said, had a landscaping business, so I learned how to switch hit. This one particular property he worked at had apples, so I would go in this field and I would hit lefty and righty, and I would pretend I was, whatever baseball player there was. And another place he had rocks, so I'd hit rocks. But the older I got, the further those apples and rocks went, and they would go out in the street, and I'd get in a little trouble. But that's how I learned how to switch hit.
So, playing baseball, there are a lot of analogies about how that translates into success in business as well. What has baseball taught you about business that's allowed you to be successful as an entrepreneur?
I've never been asked that. That's a great question. I hate to give the regular answer, but dealing with failure. You in the major leagues, if you get 3 hits out of 10, you're going to probably make the Hall of Fame. So you failed 7 times. You're going to make errors. Do you turn the page? There was a great basketball player named Lloyd Free. He changed his name to World B. Free. But they asked him, what was your best attribute as a shooter? And he said, a lousy memory. So he'd miss a shot, he'd forget about it. So as a fielder, I remember this one game back in 1984. I made 3 consecutive errors at shortstop. I remember looking at my mom, and she just went, like that. Like, in other words, that's okay. This too shall pass. But you learn how to deal with a failure in business. You mentioned the MMA company that I was with. That didn't do well. There's some other businesses that I tried. I lost money on the MMA one. The other ones I really didn't lose any money, but they didn't work. So, what can I do to make the next venture work? And also dealing with people, and in baseball and business life, you're going to deal with good people. You're going to deal with some bad people. And so I learned also in baseball, how do you succeed? And it's the same thing in business. If we all pull the same rope at the same time, the same direction for the same purpose, we will get a great result. We can't have people pulling in different directions. And finally, the old real estate axiom is what? What's the 3 most important things in real estate? Good location, good location, good location. I used to say the 3 most important things in baseball, sports, business, and life was good people, good people, good people, but I've changed that. I think I'm good people. But if you ask me, Jason, to fix your carburetor, you got the wrong guy. If you ask me to plug in these ear pods, you got the wrong guy. But my thing is the right people, the right people, the right people. If you have the right people in baseball or football or any sport in the team, you're going to succeed. If you have the right people in business, you're going to succeed. So that's what that taught me.
So I played baseball for 10 years. I started at 5 years old and played until I was 15, freshman in high school. And I played first base mostly, some outfield, but mostly first base. I too tried to catch like one practice one time in high school and hated it. Like my knees said, no way. Plus the ball's coming at you as fast as
Oh
those
yeah,
balls come. Not interested. But I quit playing baseball for two reasons. And I wanted, like you, I wanted to be a professional baseball player. I wrote it down as a kid. I remember writing this down. It was in my underwear sock drawer
yeah,
for most of my life. It's like, I will play professional baseball. I wanted to play for the Nashville Sounds, which was the minor league team here in
yeah.
Nashville.
Sure,
And I remember going to the Sounds games and doing that. As a matter of fact, here over my shoulder, right there's a Sounds cap that you get ice cream in at the Sounds Stadium.
sure. I know what
Uh,
those are. Yep, yep.
yeah, so I wanted to do that, and so I played for 10 years, and I was decent. I was not a star. I was your average guy
Mhm.
on a baseball team. But two reasons I quit. Number one, I got hit in the face with a hard grounder really, really bad on first base one time. And then I got hit a couple more times, not as bad as that one. And I got scared of the ball. I just absolutely
Sure.
got scared of the ball. And I started sidestepping all my grounders at first base, which is not, you don't get a ton over there unless there's a bunch of lefties, right?
Right,
Um,
right.
so that happened. And then second, I had a jerk as a coach in my freshman year of high school. Um, and he was Coach Bennett was his name. And I'm now a former school teacher and I coach soccer when I taught school. So I can't imagine like what was going through his brain to treat a kid the way he treated not just me. He wasn't just mean to me, but he was a bully and he called names and he did things. And I said, look, I'm not, this is what it is. I'm out. So I quit. And it's unfortunate because I really loved the game. I really enjoyed it. And so I did face adversity and I quit. And I don't regret what I might have been able to experience otherwise, but that's my baseball experience. And I went on to play, I started playing soccer and tennis for the rest of my high school career. But um, what would you as a coach, like you're coaching people, you're a scout, like what would you tell somebody that's dealing with that type of thing where you got a jerk as a coach and they've been started to get scared by the ball? How would you have gone back in time and helped me stay in the game?
Well, the getting hit with a ball, you know, that I understand. But what I would have done with you is just keep hitting you grounders, starting off slow and then banging them a little harder when you can defeat that enemy, not just physically but mentally. And for example, I do a lot of hitting lessons, and I deal with kids, you know, from 10 to 20 something, right? And they've been hit by a ball. I said, look, I don't know how many at bats I've had in my career, but I was only hit maybe four times. Okay, you look at a major league player who maybe has, let's say, Alex Rodriguez, who's somebody I study in business pretty much every day. I think I don't know 5,000 at bats. Now they threw at him intentionally a few times, but let's just say for the sake of arguing, he was hit, you know, 10, 15 times. Okay, the odds are low, and get hit with a grounder in the face like that, the odds are low. So you keep pounding in that player's head that this was just a freak thing and you don't stop until they're confident enough to swim without the lifesaver things on them, whatever they call those things. As far as dealing with an idiot coach, that's why I wrote the book, ironically, Jason. And the theme of the book is something I heard from Joe Theismann, who lives in Nashville, I believe. He's the old quarterback of the Washington Redskins, and Dick Vermeil, the Super Bowl winning coach for the Rams. And they said that your players or your people won't care how much you know till they know how much you care. My players know that I care for them, not just on the field, but off, not just the best player, but the guy who just barely made the team. And that's what the theme of the book is. And I had many of my players, about 27 of them, write something. I said, write whatever you want so I can put it in my book. And I was blown away of the things they wrote outside of baseball than just how I taught them how to hit a fastball. And I seen many coaches behave that way. And I was lucky. I had great coaches to play for, great coaches to play for. And one of them gave me my shot in coaching, Coach Woznicki. But I worked for some that treated me pretty bad, that would embarrass me, that just treated me bad. And I never want somebody to do what you just did. I can see when you said that, I can tell you were hurt by it. I don't want to. Now, did all my players were crazy about me? No, but probably because they didn't get the playing time that they wanted. But that wasn't because of me. They just didn't earn it. But nobody can ever say that I treated them poorly or I disrespected them or I embarrassed them. Yes, I'm very demonstrative when we coach, but I'll never embarrass. I'm there to teach. I'm there to motivate. I'm there to help. And I tell my players this: I want two things when you leave. Number one, I want you to miss playing for us. Number two, I want you to miss playing for me. I said, geez, I really enjoyed playing for coach. I enjoyed those 4 or 5 years, 1 year, 2 years. I don't want a player of mine to someday do what say what you just said. Oh, Claudio was a jerk. I don't want anybody, be it, you know, somebody leaves my presence. It doesn't have to be a baseball. It can be business. It could be this interview. It could be somebody listening to the show. So, oh, geez, that guy, he was this, that, or the other thing. I don't want that. I want it to be a positive, and I want, and I'm sorry that you had that experience, but you know what? I bet you it made you better that you don't want somebody to say that about Jason Duncan.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
As an entrepreneur, I know that you have to deal with sales on a regular basis. I mean, every entrepreneur does. And if you aren't paying attention to sales as an entrepreneur, you're not going to be an entrepreneur for very long. But I've got a sponsor of this show called Dub that helps you bring the personal back to sales. If you want to figure out how to improve content creation, improve client trust, improve your sales process, decrease the sales cycle, because we all know time kills deals. If you want to increase client bookings and increase conversions, you need to take a look at Dub. There's a special offer for Dub for listeners to The Root of All Success at therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. And that's DUBB. What Dub does, I've been using this for years. I'm a huge fan, and I'm so honored that they're our primary sponsor of the podcast. But they have helped over 60,000 businesses around the world communicate better, to make sales easier, to make sales more personal. And Dub is built for growing teams. I mean, you can set up video emails, you can set up custom onboarding, you can do admin reporting, anything you need around video and sales and automation. Dub is there. You can try Dub now. Your conversions to sales are waiting. All you got to do is go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. And there you're going to get 2 weeks for free to try Dub. Plus, you're going to get 50% off your first 2 months of Dub. You can't beat that. So go check it out. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/Dub.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
You know what? That is probably the biggest nugget I took away. And because as a teacher, I went into to ministry first right out of high school and college. And then later I became a school teacher and then eventually became an entrepreneur, which is how led me to doing this show. But I know that when I became a teacher, that Coach Bennett in the back of my mind always was there, good or bad, whether I needed to let it go or not. But it was like, I never want to be that guy. And I don't know if he changed. I don't know if he's still alive, but the idea is you're right. Like I will never be that way. I will not demoralize and demean people and call names, especially to kids. Like who does that? Who does it? So you're right. That's probably the seed of the benefit that was planted in 1990 and 1991 that allowed me to realize, you know what, I'm never going to be that way. I'm never going to be that way. Let me ask you some success questions, because this is the root of all success after all. What would you say, Claudio, has been your one key to becoming successful? You're a Hall of Famer, Lifetime Achievement Award winner, author, you own many businesses, you're a professional scout. Like, this is pretty cool stuff. What's the one thing that you could point to and say, that was the key to my success?
2 things, 3 things. My faith. I never gave up. As hard as it is, sometimes you have to keep that faith. Number 2, I was persistent. And number 3, I don't like the word networking. I don't like that when it comes with it because people come up to you, hey, how would you? I don't do that. But Joan Rivers had a manager. I believe his name was Larry Thompson. And he said, if you want to get struck by lightning, you have to stand in the rain. So I try to stand in the rain. I have a pretty good Rolodex or database, I guess they would say now, of some name people, some good business people, and I've put myself in position to succeed. And I've gone after things. There was an old sitcom years ago called Sanford and Son, and Fred told his son Lamont, son, opportunity doesn't always knock. So sometimes you have to call him up and invite him over. So I've gone after things. I was persistent. I had faith, and I worked very hard. So I know that's more than one thing, but it's hard to say one thing. I worked incredibly hard, and I was persistent, and I had to be tough, overcome, and persistent. And you can make that another P, pray, and I did. And it wasn't easy, and it's not going to be easy. And you're going to go through a lot, but how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? And I wanted it pretty bad. So I put myself in position to get struck by lightning. I stood in the rain.
How do you define that word success? Everybody has their own idea. What's yours?
For me, some people out there say there's no such thing as balance. Or if you want something, you have to focus in on that and that only and forget about everything else. Well, how successful would I be if I didn't have a relationship with my mom and dad, or if I didn't have a good relationship with my wife and daughter? Okay. There was one person I know that had a very, very successful Major League Baseball career. And he told me, Claudio, he said, you're rich. I didn't know. I'm divorced twice. He says, I didn't know my first three kids till they were in their mid-20s. I've never, and I felt bad when he said that. The guy's worth millions of dollars. But I don't see why you can't have your cake and eat it too. What's the sense of having a cake if you can't eat it? Okay. Why can't I have a pro baseball career, a college baseball career, a media career, a speaking career, a business owner, and spend a lot of time with my wife and daughter? Quality time, not just quantity and quality. And I don't waste time. People ask, how you do everything you do. I don't waste time, Jason. I get things done. But why can't you check mark all the boxes? I don't want to, oh yeah, he had a very successful baseball career, but his family life suffered. I've never missed one of my daughter's events. One time when she was a color guard captain at the University of Pittsburgh, she had a football game. I missed the halftime event because I had a speaking engagement on the river, not too far from the stadium, but I was able to see her pregame routine. So I never technically missed an event. And because those days are gone now, but I didn't miss anything. And my wife and I are very close. So we go for walks, we go for rides, we go on vacation together, and I soak them in. For me, I don't care. I don't want to go anywhere. I wherever they want to go, we go, and I just stand back and watch them. But what is success to me? To be able to provide for my family, which is incredibly important to me. I know you're not supposed to say that, you go after money, but I do. Why? So I can provide for my family. So I want to provide for my family. I want to share many memories with my family. I want to be close with them. I want to have fun with them. I want to go after and work hard at all my businesses. Why can't I do everything? So to me, what is success? Check marking all the boxes.
So by that definition, do you consider yourself to be successful?
That's one thing. When I gave that speech the other day, or even, when you gave the introduction, they'll say this or that, or you won this award or whatever. I'm happy with what I've done. I'm proud of what I've done. I'm not content. Dan Marino says you can do more. You can always do more. Mario Andretti says if you think you have everything under control, you're probably not going fast enough. So am I a success? I let other people think that. For me, you know what, Jason? I guess I don't want to be hypocritical or stand on the fence. I'll put it this way. Yes, but I can do more. I can do more. I can be more successful. I'll put it to you that way. Like you never have enough money. You never have enough health. And I don't think you ever have enough success. I'm never going to be one to put my feet up on the desk, my hands on my head. So I'm always going to chase. I'm always going to chase, and hopefully I catch some more successes. So am I a success? Yeah. But at the same time, Ray Boom Boom Mancini once said, "It's a quick trip from the penthouse to the outhouse." You know, so I'm grateful for things. I'm happy. I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but I'm not done yet, and I'm not content.
So, as we close out the show, I want to give you the opportunity to put your motivational speaker hat on and give some advice to the listeners. So, as you look back over your years, decades of success in the baseball and in sports, as a Hall of Famer, as a Lifetime Achievement Award winner, an author, business owner, a coach, a scout, what advice could you speak into the lives of the entrepreneurs listening to this show that you've done it, you've been successful in many areas? What is your piece of advice that you would give them today?
Don't quit. Have a goal, have a dream, go after it. Listen to the people who say you can do it, and listen to the people who say you can't, or hear them, but don't let it sink in. Your worst enemy can be your best ally. They can motivate you. And just go after it as hard and as passionately as you can. Work as hard as you can. You're going to get knocked down. Get back up and go after it, because if you quit, you're not hurting anybody but yourself. And so again, as cliche as that is, don't give up. There's nothing special about me, Jason. I just hung in there just a little bit longer than everybody else, and I kept at it. And I worked at it. Yeah, okay, I'm good at what I do, I think. I'm very confident in that. But I gave myself the opportunity. Number two, stand in the rain so you can get hit by lightning. Number three, which is pretty much saying go after it. And number three, try to be a good person. So remember what Jason said about that coach. You don't want to be a bad guy. Whenever you're dealing with somebody, why can't it be a win-win for everybody? And they say nice guys finish last. Leo DeRocher, the Hall of Fame manager. I don't necessarily agree with that. You can be a good person. So again, don't give up. Stand in the rain. So and get your name out there. Work hard. Be persistent. Don't give up, and try to be a good person. And and that's living. Going after things in life and not just settling. I know some people, Jason, you do, your audience does, that just aren't happy with their life because they settled. I'm going after things. I always have more dreams and goals all the time that I'm looking. I'm getting into the consulting world. Um, I I want to ramp up the speaking engagements. I want our shows. I want them to grow. I want our team at Carnegie Mellon to win more championships. I want the Global Scouting Bureau to be more successful. I just want to keep adding things on, and I want to have a fulfilled life. A friend of mine, Jim Valvano, who I'm sure you've heard of, the NC State basketball coach, won a championship in 1983. He has a Jimmy V Cancer Fund that was the speech given on ESPN. He said, I believe, I'm paraphrasing here, that the editor or the person who started the Reader's Digest, they said, "What do you want from your life?" And they said, "I want my dance card filled. I want my dance card filled." And Jimmy certainly had his dance card filled. Jimmy was an author, head basketball coach, athletic director, motivational speaker, camp director, an endorser, did commercials, radio shows back then, TV shows. And I told him, Jimmy, I want to be the Jim Valvano of baseball. He said, oh, you'll do it. You'll do it. So that's what I tell people, to just go after it and check mark those boxes. And while the way, have Jimmy's favorite word, he said, was the word impact. Like what you're having. I see your stuff. I read your stuff. You're having impact on people. Have impact on people. So when they say your name, oh, that guy, like I have so many mentors in my life that I study every day. Most of them are athletes, former athletes: Greg Norman, Alex Rodriguez, Magic Johnson, Fran Tarkenton, Mario Andretti, Vince Ferragamo, Vinny Pazienza. I can go on and on. Donnie Lalonde, who've Boom Boom Mancini, who've had influence in my life every single day. And I'm missing many, I'm sure. Joe Theismann, I mentioned him. Jerry Cooney, guys that have inspired me. Chris Corciani, Sean Stellato, who's been on the news lately. They've inspired me to do more, to go. Dan Marino, to do more. So to me, that's success. That's living.
Man, We need to, you know what, I need to do, man. We need to put together a conference that's all sports people, heroes that you just mentioned. You just listed a ton of them, and we need to
Yeah.
focus it totally on business and say, look, we're going to take the lessons that these guys learn in basketball and baseball and football, and we're gonna apply this to business and entrepreneurs who have sports like their dictionaries and their brain works with sports. We could do all these analogies. That would be a ton of fun, Claudio. We should talk about doing that.
I would love to do something like that. And again, at the end of the day, one thing we all have is adversity. One thing we all have is trying to get to that next level and how hard it is. And it's good for me. I've had some unbelievable mentors, those people I just studied, of course, starting with my mom and dad, gave me a roadmap and how they went through it and how we've gone through things. Your story with Coach Bennett. And you have stories, I guarantee, and how we can share this with people. Hey, I'd love to do something with you. I really would. And I'd be honored.
Well, I want everybody to go check him out, ClaudioReilsono.com. And I told you I was going to spell it. So it's Claudio. That's Claudio. And Reilsono is Reilsono, Reilsono.com. He's got a special there. You can go check out his book, Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up. And you can get that for $20 on his website. It's also on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. So go check out his book, check out his Claudio Reilsono show, and I'll be a guest on his show in the not too distant future. But Claudio, it's really cool to meet you. I love your energy. I love your passion and enthusiasm. I love what you've been able to accomplish. I'm going to give you the last word in the show before we sign off for today. So what would you like to say to the listeners?
I with you, I started reading your stuff or your work, I should say, your content. And one thing about all of your work, both the video and your written content, it's my mom used to tell me, never speak from the neck up, speak from the heart up. And that's kind of I turned it around in my book. But that's what you're doing. You talked about your grandparents. You talked about moving. You talked about, are we sabotaging our success? But you did it in a way that it's from the heart and it's easy to grasp. If you know what I'm saying, I've been in some business meetings, and no offense to anyone, this one particular, they confused the heck out of me. I don't even know what you just said. Let's break things down, right? Your content is right to it. It's common sense. It's something that we've all gone through and done. And so I commend you for the impact that you are having. And you're nowhere near done doing your thing. There's going to be more momentum coming from you. And I look forward to reading your work and watching your work. And I really enjoyed this interview. And hopefully your audience hopefully this will have some impact on their lives. And Sonny Bono once said at the end of a show, and I have two stories that I'll share with you that are pretty good stories about how things can happen in life. But Sonny Bono, at the end of one of his shows, said to believe in magic because magic happened to me. And that's what I tell people. Things have happened to me in my life. Yes, I've had some tough times, but I also had a lot of great things happen to me. Some crazy things, good things. And if they happen to me, they can happen to you.
Claudio, it's an honor to have you on the show, man. Thank you for being here. And I want to thank all the listeners for listening today, for tuning in, whether you're listening to this in your car or if you've got your earpods in, you're out running, exercising, maybe you're playing baseball, whatever it is that you're doing. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the show today. And my goal is on every episode is to bring in really exciting and passionate and successful people like Claudio to help us understand what success means and how they achieved it and what their keys are. And it's very touching to hear his story about his mom and dad and how they set his life on a trajectory that could have been otherwise very, very different. And through the tragedy of losing his mom at a young age and then later losing his dad, yet continued to persist and to push on to become a Hall of Famer, to win Lifetime Achievement Awards. This guy has got some stuff that we need to pay attention to. So I'm going to encourage you to go check him out, ClaudioReilsono.com. And that's Reilsono. That's how you spell his last name. So don't misspell it. Go check him out online. Go listen to his show. Pick up a copy of his book. And make sure you tune in again next week when I talk with yet another successful entrepreneur or sports hero like we just talked to today about their journey to success. Until then, as always, I am the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Attention business owners. Attention business owners. Feeling burnout from running your business? Uncertain if you're nearing burnout? Take our free 10-question business burnout test at businessburnouttest.com to discover where you stand. With just 10 quick questions, you'll learn how to immediately begin making changes to regain freedom and success. Cut your daily operations time in half. Improve your quality of life and prepare your business for your future exit without losing revenue or profit. Visit businessburnouttest.com now and take the test. Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.